am Nongcebo Vukile Mackenzie, and this is the podcast, Sawubona. Every fortnight, a guest joins us for a conversation or to share a story. It's a pleasure to share these with you and to have you with us. Welcome, Ngiyakwamukela, to another episode of Nongcebo Mackenzie, the podcast. Isambeli sethu on this episode of the podcast Sikhumbuzo Thabede, who joins us today. Uzoyichaza kahle khona lolu chuka lususile ngento ekuthiwa incwadi yothando. You can see that it's really inspiring and reigniting the concept of showing your love, writing down to your love. Amagama mnandi, amagama shibilikayo. Sikhumbuzo, welcome.
Thank you, Nengcebo. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure.
Finally.
Finally. Oh my goodness!
The walls have been dancing to be here.
The walls have been
back and forth.
No, and I'm so glad that the stars aligned, because you were supposed to be here for a few days prior to this, and somehow your stay was exchanged. So it has divinely aligned.
Definitely.
That's why I'm swenkile. I mean, people can't see everybody that's in the room here, but so we are meeting you because you are releasing your album, Imvunge Yakwantu.
Yes.
Translates to African Rhythmic Chants.
Yes.
But what really got me curious when I visited your profile and I saw the whole concept in Ncwadi Yothando, and we're going to listen to your song a little bit later on.
Yes.
But I'd like us to step back from that and talk about what is it that got you interested in music? What got you interested in this genre of music? We were having a debate before we started the interview, and we were listening, and we were like trying to classify it into genre.
Yes,
and you know, there was a lot of disagreement. It's like, no, the rhythm is of that genre, but the song is that genre. So what genre?
I think I've actually grappled with that, but because we need to fit in boxes.
Yeah,
I've settled to it is Afro soul. But I want to actually call out that Afro into African soul.
Okay.
It is soul music, but for us as Africans. It is inspired by Amahubo Ingegeza, which is why someone is Ngizwa Nazareth. So people hear Nazareth. But remember, Nazareth, it's actually from African spirituality. So kunemculo kuthiwa Ingegeza icula umama ngazi ke ngapha ngakini bayicula ningomethi wangbuka ngizowenana mina ngizokubona. So lezo ngoma lezo mabeyigidela omama, it gives you the data. So mawusufaka kick, then it gives you that. It is inspired by umaskandi. It is which is why ingoma zami there's usually the first strings going by strings kamaskandi, but it goes and it ends because angifuni it fall within into maskandi, because for a particular reason akunayo iko kamaskandi. Because maskandi hip hop phela yamaZulu leyo nje iko kuyadiswana. And also there is an element of isicathamia. There's a song ethi into enzima ifiqala ithi makoti wami uhambile isidwaba ngasithola emanzini. So mawilalela ngazadulalela ikholenso yakudala no melodies with Black Mambazo. So I decided to do a fusion of all of these sounds into one genre, into one sound, which is a sound that is very different, which I think it is African spiritual music. I'm sorry, Afro soul, African soul. It's all of those things that really informed the sounding nayo. But more importantly, ngikhulele enkandla emakhaya njalo around this time bekulinywa ngeinkabi. If ukubone abanye babamba igeja, abanye bakhuzinka, abanye bamitambo phambili. And uma ngikhula, which then comes to the sound lengiyona. Uma ngikhula, there was bekuthi makulinywa lokhu zinkabi uzocula. And that melody is a melody that always goes like you can't tell ukuthi bathini, but you just hear. Imagine ngema kuthiwa abantu imizi nemizi yalima in the village, and because bengiphuma endaweni it's a valley.
That hum.
That would hear. And that hum stayed. I'm even getting goosebumps thinking about that. That hum stayed with me. So when I went into music, I asked myself, what type of sound do I curate? I then realized that every time I could be singing to a Tony Braxton song, sing along, but I'm always going to have this melody that engzoba nayo. Then I realized that actually therein lies my sound.
Okay.
Yes.
And your sound is a conglomeration
of all of
all of these sounds.
Yes.
Which makes me curious, Uguti, with the purists of music.
Yes.
And with those who have come before you.
Yes.
And have, as you say, Uguti, and all of that.
Yes.
Do you not find yourselves, getting, hey, mfana yinhle into yakho. You don't find that the purists have that approach?
No, because the beauty of having a production team, I'm going to go back a bit because fully where you started. I wanted to do music when I was 17. That was in 2000.
So you knew this?
I knew that because I come from a very musical family.
Okay.
My dad attempted getting into music, but umkhulu amnqabela wathi hey hamba ufunda wena. Nami so I moved to Joburg to study when I was matric when I was 17. When I got there, I remember bengisezola eSoweto. Then we went to Orlando Stadium kune festival and bekukhona uLundi Jamaga and we were at the backstage but ngaphandle kwefence stadium. And I remember seeing him thinking, this guy is so tiny, I could also do music, because now gym time comes to Joburg proper. Now suddenly you're actually opening up into a whole lot of things as a con. Then I thought I could do music. And I wrote home.
So you didn't dial the rotary phone?
No.
You wrote a letter.
Because telephone lines. So ngababhalela bathi ayisokhuluma ngayo ngama-Easter mawubuya. I'm sure this is the first quarter of the year 2000.
So did you post the letter noma wayiphathisa?
Ngayiphathisa kwakunemoto kantshengile. Yahamba njalo ngama-Fridays impendulo izobuya Sunday. Bayibuyise true to form. They replied bathi sokhuluma mawubuya makuvalwe ikole ngogodi. I went back home. Mangifike ekhaya mase ngithi revisit the whole conversation, but you're not going back to Johannesburg. You're getting too many cute ideas.
Select Gwinyiko.
And I never went back. I only went back in 2017.
Oh, really?
Yes. I went and studied. I started working for government. I worked for the university. I went in the NGO sector. I moved from Uganda to Joburg to Cape Town, everywhere. Because I was always
But help me understand this.
Yes.
And I ask this as somebody who has very limited musical ability.
Yes.
Could never, even if I dreamt to be a musician, there are very specific factors that would limit my ability to go in that direction. But I wonder how it is when you grow up surrounded by the music and you grow up feeling the music, but then you are told this thing
yes.
that you cannot do it.
Yes, you cannot do it. And also, remember at the time, the only thing that access, access on a radio, don't really have much also in terms of the music side of things, except as a consumer of music.
Yes.
So we are in Jugudu, but I was what goes into it. So it wasn't too much of a letdown. It's like, it's fine. I know what I want music. I love music. Then there was a dream that sort of crashed in front of me. Now, this year, when I'm 42, then said, I'm going to go back to that thing.
Why?
Because I feel music for me is spiritual. And how I tested that recently is that I asked my dad, I've got his tone in music. I asked him, umkhulu watu sound njengobani? And asked him, had umkhulu stopped ngomkhulu wazi ukuthi akwazi ukucula. My dad is an amazing vocalist. I asked him ukuthi umkhulu wathi wakwathi usanda njengobani makhuluma naye. Wathi he never said that, but he once baba umbhidi ke webona umbhidi yomshado. Sambe mngani wami siyethe yonke le nto le. So uthi kwakunelanga wonomshado ngalo esethi igama lakho Musa ubaba ngizalayo akunikeze umusa akaculisi. Uthi ngaculisa ingoma yona wesesuka wasehamba wathi hayi uphefeni useculile. Uphefeni kwakubaba wakho omkhulu so gogo wami. Then I realized that I actually carry my great-grandfather's voice and sound. Therefore, into your music really is something that I could not do.
But then, here's a point of curiosity for me. Because the musicality
yes.
I'm not saying the music. I'm saying the musicality.
Yes.
Is in the family.
Yes.
And you're obviously taking it into a different form of how it's represented.
Yes.
Why not carry it in that way? Now we beat, now we yukosa. Why?
I say, Sashati, manje sesishade all Sashati, yoba makosa. And there's something that you asked me actually also, Guti. Why not? I mean, Guti, is it not too removed from iskhathi siphila kusona manje? What I did when I decided to go into music, I decided firstly that I'm going to build a studio. I'm going to set up a record label. I'm going to assemble a team. Also for two reasons. One, I wanted to record music my way and the way I want to do it. Mm-hmm. But obviously with the team that's got the right skills in terms of understanding, mm-hmm. Okay, let's understand the beat, let's mm-hmm. understand if the notes and everything, musicality as mm-hmm. mm-hmm. technical side of music and mm-hmm. recording, because sound engineering is something that I know nothing about. I went and I found a guy who is part of the Mango Grove Party. He plays penny whistle, plays keys, he plays horns and all of that. And I found a young guy who's a sound engineer from Qiniso was Mampondweni. And I then said, the first reason part is I need to record my music the way I want to record it, the way I hear it. Then they would say to me, okay, it's fine, you hear my songs, there's a free flow at the beginning, which will give you what you want in a free flow. Mm-hmm. There's not going to be a beat, because lapa was a time where a beat, which you must be on the beat. Lapa I want to do what I want to do. I want to do that, but the thing is not anyway, there's no beat in that thing. Then there's going to be a part of the groove of the song. Lapa we're going to do it as professional as you can be, mm-hmm. because also I've got a vision of having my music with an orchestra. And there's certain notes that I needed to write intentionally that can be played with an orchestra. So with all of that, mm-hmm. we decided, okay, it's fine. We will structure our music work this way. Mm-hmm. But the other part to the whole thing of the studio, I wanted to do a song with my father.
This is what I wanted to ask. You were 17.
Yes.
When you then said, not as a career.
Yes.
Okay. And actually there are two parts to this question. And you then had a conversation with him later, yes. when you were a little bit older, and you said to him, Babethu usounda njengobani. Was it easier to have that conversation with him when you were a man?
It was much easier.
Okay.
It was much easier. Mm-hmm. Also, I suppose really.
I'm
my own man. But
to get that insight into, into him and his definition of music and his interpretation of music for himself.
Sure. It was something else. Mm-hmm. He actually gave me a song. He wrote me a song.
Really?
Which was my
Is it on the album?
It's on the album. It's a lead single. It's called Alda Continua. Mm-hmm. It's a song about the struggle, because I sang about politics also. So he said to me, actually I didn't ask him for his insight Uguti. I sort of was like, I think I can do this thing, but then I said, I'm gonna do music, and he said, oh, okay, all right.
Did you still want his blessing?
Because he's an amazing vocalist, I wanted to sort of get an idea what does he think about my singing. And he sort of said, oh, okay, I glungile. And then one day I'm Tata Mseko in the studio. Mm-hmm. He said, I didn't know no monga. Skhumbuzo. It's like, well, it comes from you. But when I did the launch of the EP, a media launch, he said to me, I knew what I was doing when I said no. Mm-hmm. He was not ready. Now, Zitulele, there's content right there. There's lyrical content as a Puma in my own life, in my own journey. Mm-hmm. Never mind the musicality and whatever, but you actually have stuff to say, and you've seen this into Zitulele. Mm-hmm. So that for me was, it is full cycle.
So how does it feel for you knowing that you carry the gifts of your forefathers? Because I'll make an example, and I'm not minimizing any gift that any other person might have. If upheka kamnandi,
yes,
and you're a girl and your mother upheka kamnandi, it might not be people's relationship with food is different, and people's ability with food is interpreted by different or rather informed by different things.
Yes.
So a person might know technically how to cook very well, but they might not have the soul.
Yes.
Ukubona ukuthi khona isitambu uthi mawusidla uthi hayi asifani nezinye izitambu babhemi lesi sitambu. Lesi sitambu there was no chef school for it, but isandla nje salowo muntu, even if isiZulu masigayiwe ke kusho ukuthi yabona lesi ke
lesandla sikaSibanibani.
And that is completely different. Or even take something that's sewing. I want to go to things that people can learn. You can learn ukuthunga. But khona umuntu okufundile ukuthunga obonayo ukuthi ukuthunga kula kuyena kula. Ubona ukuthi ngisho ngathiwa benikeze nje inaliti kwathiwa axaxazisa bengakagxagxazise njengomunye umuntu okwakhe bekuzophuma kuyinto ethule ethethu.
Yes.
But we assume that because it's a learned skill, kusho ukuthi they were able to refine the skill. Now to carry you could try and teach me how to sing.
To hold a note.
It will. It's not something that you can learn. And to sing in a certain tone, and to sing with a certain tonality, and to listen to that, and mangase mhlambe kuthiwa abesakhona amakhehla angangokhokho wakho, that if they would close their eyes and listen to you and be, isn't that a heavy weight? Because how I'm hearing it is you are bringing forth the ancestors.
Definitely. And it's interesting that you asked me that question, because in the EP that I've released, I did a song called Ithongo Lami. And that's a song that my grandmother, ngizalwe zangoma, ngisona sangoma, but ngizalwe zangomeni, family of Zangoma, ngakhula khala igubhu. That song says, ngolenzelani ithongo lami ngoba linzima, ngoba linamandla. My grandmother always sings that song whenever something big happens to us as grandchildren, because of the way she grew up and she raised her children. So whenever something happens, she'd go like, oh, lenzelani, lelo thonga lami, ngoba linzima. And I decided to do that song and record it, because that song carries my heritage, carries, my grandmother got it from somewhere. So I'm always interested in bringing forth izinto ezindala, especially because our history and heritage is not it's told in the word form. It's not really written.
It's told, it's sung,
sung. Yes, that's why ukuthi kusho ukuthi inkosi uShaka yayinje ngoba kuzozwa ibongo zayo, kusho ukuthi inkosi uDengane wenje ngoba kuzozwa ibongo zayo. And that is something that we need to work hard as abantu abamnyama to ukuthi asibhale phansi, or siyicule, or senze some form, so that we preserve them. It is a very big weight for me when I do that, because I realize ukuthi I can never just put a shame on them and just say I'm going doing this because I can, because in the studio I really am thoughtful about it, and sometimes I go out and I go like, yazini sizoyirecorda ngisuke kuyona ngiphinde ngibele after 2 weeks ngilalele ukuthi is it getting to where it's supposed to get. I mean, that 2 songs I keep an EP, I didn't release them because I realized that they had not landed because of the message that I need this song to communicate. It wasn't just a let's get it done and let's take it out there. It needs to land, it needs to resonate. Ngifuna ukuthi uma ugogo, and funny enough, gogo mabeyilalela gogo, my grandmothers, which is a big tick for me, but mabeyilalela bese bethi, hey, uyayihlabelela kamnandi, ubothi ngelanga bohlabelala lenethi ngelinye ilanga. Then I'm like, okay. If I've achieved that, ezinye lezi zethu ke ngeyethu attention span ingaka. Lezi zethu thina can deal with that quickly and easier, but their generation eyabo badala enough, they tell the truth, they're not gonna lie to you and say excuse my language.
Oh, bleep.
And say uguti, it makes sense if it doesn't. And if it makes sense to me first, and it makes sense to abandoning it, the matter for this particular topic or particular song, it will make sense out there. It might not land you on a dance floor, the dance floor, but it will make sense to you.
But isn't that then the skill of a musician, that you can find a balance between what will land on the dance floor, hypothetically. I'm not being literal in the dance floor aspect, but also what a person will need to metabolize
Yes.
in order to get to the essence of. because there's a difference between getting to the essence of something now.
Yes.
That's got its own place and time. And then there are things that you need to metabolize to really get to. And every time, there are movies that if you watch today and you watch it next week and you watch it in a month's time, every single time you will pick out something new. From the storyline or from the character, from what they say, and that is part of metabolizing it. It's for me, what you're saying is it speaks to the skill that you have and that your father wanted you to gain.
Yes, it's true. And I think another thing that is important is ukuthi, for my music, I'm working with young guys. One of them is called Celza, Inja Ka-Gogo. Ingoma ethi umuzomkhulu esentini. He's one of the producers of that song. That guy, because he's young blood, he's gonna get you the part that's gonna get you to dance. Sometimes when someone's okay, man, it's not gonna dance from the beginning, it's dance somewhere in the middle. Simmer. I guess that comes with age also. Okay, with Uguti, I'm no longer a kid that just wants to dance. I'm not sure I could get up. I'm getting it. But the beauty of my talent and what I hear in terms of music and getting people who are young, who are going to also, who think like abantu abancane, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful combination to do that because also they entertained different the entertainment and it then makes ukuthi whatever product esikhiphayo ukuthi it resonates with me who's 40, who's 42. It resonates with my father because there's some of them, these are old melodies, but in terms of the beat, khona longa funekla lamagama thini is just saying this song is getting me to dance.
So I am curious because, and the reason I'm curious about it is because it's the first of your songs that I heard.
Yes.
Incwadi Yothando. And I've got a history with a thing called Incwadi Yothando.
I hear your history.
And I'm curious because I come from the age of, and we had this conversation on the phone, you and I, where I said, because I didn't know you were 42 at the time. And I said, angiboni ukuthi uyayazi kodwa contact to city. Angiboni ukuthi unayo city. But if you could bring that
after the show.
I come from the age of the rotary phone. I come from the age of the rotary phone, not in your house, but at the shop somewhere, and then somebody's going to come and say, there's a phone call, it's going to come in 30 minutes, can somebody come? I come from the age of bus below, bus zoqathaza umuntu lapha phezulu kumenyeza umuntu, khuphuka zohlangabeza omunye negrosa. So for me, I in as much as SMSs and WhatsApp and emails and DMs add a spontaneity in love, they take away, and yes, they keep you connected and they keep you in each other's space the whole time, but they take away from the patience that love requires.
Yes.
They take away from the patience that nurturing requires. Because in a relationship, I always make this example, when you get a baby, you do not know that baby.
Yes.
It's a blank slate that you're given.
Yes.
And it's going to grow and you're going to learn its character and you're going to influence its character and. But you don't know them when they are an infant and they hand it to you as a mother. And it takes patience. That's why people will say, yes. Because your mother will have patience for you.
Yes.
And that's the kind of patience that love needs. And if you think Gudala, and the reason I'm such a love sap is because my grandmother has got the most beautiful love stories about umkhulu. And babengabizani ngamagama, babebizana ngobhuden nosisibusi. So ungaswithatha ugcine la uthanda khona. Mawungakathi sisa awukasho lutho. No. Because that's the image I have of love. And that's the stories I have of love, and that's the positive stories I have of love. And that is very linked to Incwadi.
Yes.
Because that's how they would communicate in the 1950s and the 1960s. And you would be patient enough to wait for Incwadi.
The response, yes.
And that for me is just bringing back, and also the articulation. Incwadi ovele uyibhala uyithumele.
No.
Uyabhala, sithandwa sami, abazohlala ubhale. Nongcebo wami ngimthandayo. Bese yathula uthi wena onyathela ngabantwana bese yaqasha uthi hawu ngase ngalukhuluma iphutha akanyathele ngabantwana akumcondo uyabhuba ubuye ubhala. And so it forces you to reflect on what you are saying.
Yes.
Ngisho ngadinwa kangakanani, iSMS kulula kabi noma WhatsApp you ubhale whatever umhliphiza umuntu umbhekisele
Yes.
mawuzothatha ipen bhale ngokuhlanganisa
Yes.
uthi waze wangidina sesikhathele isandla ukubamba ipeni by the time
Sikhathele, yes.
and again so it brings in that patience. So I'm always curious about, well, I grew curious when I heard, because I went and listened, there was a little snippet that was available online that I listened to about your interpretation of Incwadi Yothando.
Yes, I'm actually glad to go to it resonates with you. So Incwadi Yothando was supposed to be a lead single of my EP. And it was going to go different to what it is now. When I sat and I thought about love, I thought about the era ngikhule ngayo sibhale incwadi ngoba kade uthi longing, you know, when you long and patience. Kwingoma ngithi ziyajabula lezo ntaba ezingibonela wena. We know personify indaba ukuthi indaba zingabantu ziyakubona. Ayikho indlela ebheke never kodwa sohamba zesifinyelele. Uthando lethu lokoniwa yithi singavumela umuntu wasithatha ngena sihlukanisa, which really is a talking about love in the true form and sense of love. Ukuthi, you know, relationships we ruin them ourselves. It's not like there's a foreign element that comes if it is ruin a relationship.
But how I am interpreting le Ndaba
Yes.
is Ndaba is unmovable, unshakable.
Yes.
So this unshakable thing that has, if I were to embody, if I were to be this unmovable, unshakable thing that could gaze upon you and never lose sight and never be moved from you. That's how I interpret that.
Exactly. And there's a part hamba phephala mujubala lozomkhonzele lezo ndaba. You know, when you've written this letter, you now give it to someone takuphathele ngabe kuphatha imoto ngoba dusha amabhasi nanani. Uthi ehamba phela mujubala njengamajuba uzomkhonzele kulezo ndaba. You know, it's taking us back to the days sisakhula sibhale incwadi and we're emotive and thoughtful and very intentional. Njengamanje usuthola WhatsApp futhi nakhona makwathola WhatsApp omude uya complain ngoba sisafuna ufunda into ende. Sisifuna umuntu athi abhale shorthand ILUV and then there's a U. You can't really tell emotions from those things.
For me, even if you say LOVE space YOU, ngithandwa yini? Love you. Yini le ngithandayo?
Yes.
Ice cream love you. Bread love you. I love you.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Incwadi Yothando really it's interesting ukuthi Incwadi Yothando nawe, which for me it's I think kahle khona lezi incwadi zothando esihlanganisayo la. Ngoba Incwadi Yothando ngempela there's so much that we've lost because we've lost izinto eziningi esazenza kudala ngoba dusho uyazi uma ukuthi usumkhumbula umuntu wakho ngangine stash ngisibeke mase ngimkhumbula bese ngihambe ngiyifunda ngidlale ngesisu.
But
Qaqa zonke ngifunde.
I understand the symbolism of all of that because uyayibhala incwadi.
Yes.
Mhlawumbe ufunda kwesinye isikole or uhlala kwenye indawo uyayiphathisa. You are taking your emotions and you are putting them in the hands of another person. You're trusting they're not going to read them. You're trusting if they read them they're going to laugh at you, but they're not going to come and tell you that they laugh at you. But there is that chance ukuthi uzobukeka njengesithithithi sesithingithingi esididwe uthando ngale ndlela. But you are allowing yourself to be carried to your love by another.
Yes.
And the whole thing again, I can just, as you're saying, you are metabolizing your love. We don't reflect on our love because as in is uyaxolisa ukuthi wathumela incwadi waphuza ukuphendula uyaxoxela about what was going on in their life, and you are getting to reflect, oh le ncwadi wayibhale ngo-October 2022, oh wow, this is what was happening. And you are again, you know, reflecting on your love. And look, I can go on and on
about love. and interestingly, so the title of my book being Hold of My Heart, Keep of My Soul, the chorus of the song, I translated that in Zulu into isiZulu ethi ungumlondi wenhliziyo yami nomgcino womphefumulo wami, hold of my heart and keep of my soul.
And that was your love letter to Inkandla.
Yes, love letter to Inkandla. And the book, this letter is a song, a love letter to forever.
Bambisanda sami mntwana umuntu ngizokuhola size sifinyelele
So now, Skhumbuzo, that is the song, Incwadi Yothando.
Yes.
It's one of 13 songs on the album.
So currently there's an EP that's got 6 songs and 2
okay.
singles out. So that's about 7 songs out.
Okay.
So there are more songs that are coming.
Okay.
Yes.
Any date that we can sihlale silindile?
It's a beautiful song. We're still discussing with how do we release that. So mhlawumbe, I think by the end of the month we have released a deluxe album that's got the remainder of the songs as an EP.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think this would have been seen while the song was playing. I finally remembered ukuthi incwadi yayifoldwa kanjani.
Yes.
And uSkhumbuzo was telling me ukuthi bona incwadi nanjabulela ukuthola igoqo. Nina nathi njani nanifaka envelope?
Igoqo thina phela uyifaka envelope ihambisa.
Why were most of the envelopes that time blue? There was that light.
Blue
okay,
pink.
it's a turquoise.
Yes.
For the benefit of somebody in this room. I don't
For the specialist of colors.
So it's a turquoisey blue kind of thing. What vamsu ukuthi zibe njalo imvela at that
Or
time?
pink. Or somewhere.
And kwawilezi ezazikhothwa angithi ezamanje lezi usuvela unamathisele.
Yes.
Sasikha usale ne taste ye envelope.
Yes. And funny enough, I'll actually show a picture after that because I bought an envelope.
You bought an envelope.
Ngangifuna ibe kwi sleeve CDs of the track.
But angithi khumbula ukuthi wawuthi mawuya esitolo esidayisa amapeni izinto zokubhala nje.
Yes.
Wawathenga a pack. But
Yes.
mawuye ethiloma wakwazi ukuthi uphume nayiyo.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to demonstrate yet again. Angisho ukuthi ngangiyibhala njalo incwadi zothando. But ngithi
siyazi nisigoqela abantu lencwadi.
But sengiyigoqela incwadi and then sasifaka ispray ifutha hayi ama perfume ifutho. Fa. Bese uyabhala ke. Bese ithumela. Thank you Skhumbuzo.
Ngiyacela incwadi yothando. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the podcast. Remember, you can like the episode and share the podcast link, as well as listen to more episodes on the channel. Subscribe to the channel for more. Siyabonga. Thank you for listening.